Okay, welcome everybody to another Thursday Frequency. My name is Ron Nagy, and yeah, we're delighted to have you on the show or here along for the show. So today we're going to be talking about SLICC. We had a show back in May. A lot has changed since then, and so we've got the team for SLICC. My cohort here, Lars.
Hello.
Is going to be talking about SLICC. Yeah. How's it going, man?
Good. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. And we have some usual suspects here. We've got Karl and David. How are you guys doing?
Not too bad.
Good, thanks. Thanks for having us.
Yes,
Yeah.
again.
Excellent. So today we are going to, it's been what, like 3 months? Has it been 3 months? 2 months?
No,
I don't
just 2 months.
Time flies.
Yeah.
So 2 months, but like you guys have done a ton of stuff in those 2 months, right?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah. So we basically just crossed the 100th merged PR. In not the 100, the 1000th merged PR.
Okay, yeah. It's like 100.
Yeah, no, it's need to get my powers of 10 right.
Yeah.
And the interesting part of this is that about a third of these PRs have been merged just in the last 30 days. So we're going at breakneck speed and building really interesting things. But I think for anyone who hasn't heard about SLICC before, I think a quick intro would make sense before we talk about. Right, I think we should first say what is SLICC before we talk about what's new in SLICC.
Sure. Go ahead and give your quick spiel on SLICC, and while you're doing that, I will throw the URL for the last show that we did for anyone that wants a deep dive.
Perfect. Yeah. So the short story is it's a personal agent that is able to control the part of your computer that matters most. And the part of your computer that matters most is your browser, because if you are doing professional white-collar work, your life is happening inside a browser, right? Your work is happening inside a browser. And all of these web apps have interesting content, they have interesting context, and SLICC is able to access them and to combine them and to code against them and create interesting solutions on the one hand, but also to get rid of a couple of annoyances that are driving you mad, maybe. So that's what it is, right? It's an agent for the browser, in the browser, by the browser, of the browser, and it's very fun to use to boot. I think that's the last point I want to make.
Yeah, I will add that as a SLICC user, it is fun to use, and I think the touches that you've created to make the experience fun, I think, are good. The fact that you guys have kind of full freedom of adding things, it's nice to see.
Yeah.
Yeah. Last recently coined the term "give me convenience" or "give me this" on a conference that I really liked about SLICC, right? Because this is for me the main driver. It makes it really convenient to have an agent in your browser.
And I have to admit, it's not my quote, but I don't remember who said it first. But I will need to look it up. Well,
okay.
For the time being, it is your quote. So now.
Yes, exactly. All good stuff.
Yeah, it's by the Death Kennedys.
Ah.
Yeah, Ron, I was expecting you to.
I should have known.
Best me with your knowledge here. So, so that's why I couldn't let the let the misattribution stand.
There you go. There you go. I should have come up with the Dead Kennedys. I do apologize.
Yeah.
Great band. Okay, so you've had a whole bunch of PRs. There's a whole bunch of changes, and like I've been not active. I've been lurking in the Slack channel that we have here at Adobe for it, and someone's like, "Hey, I'd like to have it do this." Okay, let's do that. And here's some new skills. Hey, let's add those. So, how are you thinking about keeping it productive, I guess, while all of these new features are being added and new capabilities?
I think the biggest part of this is daily use, right?
Yeah.
We have essentially two drivers here. One is the parts of the product that get used are the parts that get feedback and that get bug fixes.
Yeah.
That is, I would say, the main driver towards stability. Right? And then on top of that, we have a driver towards instability. And this is essentially when we try to cope with almost 100% vibe coded code base, right? Because that means we have to occasionally re-architect the entire thing. And just based on the version numbers, you can see that we've done this 5 times so far. So we're at version 5 as the major number.
Yep.
As the major version number, and basically whenever we break compatibility, we bump it up once. And the thing is, you always think this is going to be the last breaking change I'm going to make, and that never holds up. But we are working hard on making the time gap between the major bumps as big as possible, and these architectural changes then often come with a lot of additional advantages, and they unlock additional features. And one of the big changes that we did was so let's talk about a couple of the big breaking changes first, right? So the last one was that we moved the UI that in a lot of cases used to live on localhost 5710, and we moved that to Sliccy.ai. And the advantage of this is that we essentially have one place for the UI, that our distributions got much smaller, so you don't need to update your SLICC install just because we are making changes to the web app, right? It's behaving like a regular web app. One thing that is breaking there is that it's behaving like a regular web app, which means if the server-side code is changing, what you typically do in a web app is you just reload it, right? And now we are dealing with the fact that in SLICC you have very, very long-lived sessions, right? So we are still working on making these updates a bit less intrusive, because you want to control when you hit Command R, and not us, right?
Yeah.
So the big change before that was that we changed essentially what is the SLICC kernel, and it's a bit odd to speak of a kernel in a web app, right? Because
exactly,
what the hell? Please don't mistake yourself for an operating system developer.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is that actually what happens when you build something like this is that you start to rediscover operating systems from first principles, right? And you discover, hey, yes, it's actually a good idea to have processes isolated, right? And the nice thing about this is that whenever that happens, we can just shamelessly steal, right? We can say, oh yeah, we need some form of process management. Well, that's just PS and kill and maybe top, and we're going to add this, right? And then you get to the point where you think, well, maybe it's a good idea to separate the responsibility of file system access and device access in general, I should say, which brings us to things like that there's now USB support in SLICC. Right? You say, yeah, it's actually a good idea to separate that from the user land, and that brings on the one hand fantastic advantages, like the ability to have a process that you can actually kill, right? So you can have a longer running process in the background, and you can stop it without having to reload your entire web application and losing potentially context. But it's also requiring you to harden the interfaces that you deal with, right? That you say, oh, yeah, actually, we need to have a good contract between what the UI sees and what the kernel sees, and what the applications are saying, and on top of that, right, in SLICC we have with Jish we have a complete runtime for scripting, and on that scripting runtime, I've gone back and forth, and actually this is where convenience has almost given me death, because I in the beginning I thought, hey, it's a cool idea to there are a couple of things that are useful in scripting all the time, so let's just make them globals. And then we discovered, yeah, actually agents, it's super convenient, but it's also confusing to the agents who are writing these scripts, right? They're thinking, oh, I need to import file system. Oh yeah, file system is already taken. Oh, it already exists, right? And that has been a big design guidance for us, to essentially give the agents what they expect, right? So the agent who is using SLICC is always right about how SLICC should be used, and our job is to keep our eyes on how the agents are using SLICC and how they behave in that in that environment, and to make it fit in with their expectations, right? And it's always great when the agent is surprised by the fact, oh yeah, I'm actually running in the browser, and it's also, but at the same time, it can be frustrating when the agent feels too constrained by that remark, right? When you tell it. So one thing that we added is that when you start a sub agent, a scoop in SLICC, that it's fully isolated, that it's essentially living in its own little sandbox. We call it restricted file system. And if it wants to access something out of the restricted file system, it needs to make a request. It needs to call sudo, and sudo is then being approved by the cone, which is the main agent. And one of the things I saw in the last day was that one scoop basically hallucinated that it cannot do things in the normal way. So what it did was doing some strange workarounds by doing everything through temp and requesting sudo all the time. And at the time, the cone was doing the hardest eye roll I've ever seen an agent do, basically saying, "Stop asking me for sudo access. Don't you know that you have the entire /tmp folder, and yet you are creating tmp underscore files at the file system root," where it actually went to the point where it said, "This scoop is so stupid, I'm going to stop it and I'm going to start a new one." So so that was an interesting thing to observe.
Was it by any chance a Heiko scoop?
No, it was a sonnet that was all sonnet 5. So yeah.
Very nice. Hey, so in addition to the interesting things in terms of hallucinations and whatnot, what are the things that you've heard from people of how they're using SLICC that has surprised you? Like anything that is interesting, they're like, wow, that's a great use case. I hadn't thought of that.
So well, there's one thing I can share that I just saw today, which is somebody in Asta who's in the Helix team has been working with the customer and looking basically at their RAM data and one of their operational telemetry data. And one of the things here is that customers often get overwhelmed with, hey, there's so much data, how can I make sense out of it? Right? So, and what you can do and we do have a web application for operational telemetries, and there's actually a skill for interpreting operational telemetry data. So she gave that to SLICC. SLICC did the analysis and said, okay, well, here are the problems with your website. And then it didn't stop, right? It then said, actually, let me look at your Git history. Let me look at the content changes that have been made to your site. Let me look at how you've been making configuration changes in the tag management system, and put that all together, and then draw a perfect timeline and say, hey, here's the point where your website has taken a bad turn, right? And which is useful because then you can undo it. And then it added the final piece, the piece de resistance on top, which was it published its own website. And that's a new feature. We have slicky.now as a domain where SLICC can essentially publish websites and ad hoc websites, and you could give that to a customer and could say, I had my agent figure something out for you. Here's
while we've been chatting. here's a URL for you.
You can look at it, right? So and putting this together, right? Putting together sources like operational telemetry that have structured data and APIs, sources like GitHub, where you have a coding history, sources like document authoring, where you have actual content structure, and then things that you just take on ad hoc, right? Where you say, yeah, I have no integration with your tag management system. Nobody has ever approved that, but I'm just going to dig into it and going to find out how it works, and then put all of that together, and then finally use one of the built-in tools that SLICC has been given, like a little ad hoc web hosting destination, to put it together to something wonderful.
That's very cool. Very cool. So
Karl, I've seen that basically, which we didn't mention it too much, right? Besides that, it's one browser. The interesting bit about SLICC is that we somebody said, why stop there? as usual, right? So so there's a way that you have followers, right? And followers can connect to leaders, right? And so you can join several SLICCs together effectively, right? And the interesting bit about that is that the followers can also be other Electron apps, because they're based on Chrome. So, for example, Slack and other Electron-based apps can also have a SLICC follower that joins the session, and that makes it convenient to also do something similar to what Lars described, but you can extend it and I know that people do it for Slack, for example, to look through their Slack sessions and derive info from those and bring them up in the chats. So that's one. And the other use case I know of that surprised me a bit because it was kind of personal. We have this other agent, which is not SLICC, called Emma, the experience monetization agent, which you can also drive in the browser. And it requires occasional prompting. So some people use SLICC to actually drive Emma, which works surprisingly well, because once it learned what it is supposed to be doing and how to drive the chat inside of it. I tried it myself. It actually can do that surprisingly well, because it can add itself some kind of notification into the Emma web page. So if the agent finishes its turn, it wakes up SLICC, right? And it decides what to do next. So it's kind of a meta layer on top of the actual migration agent is SLICC sitting there and kind of driving it along. So that was very interesting. That's very interesting.
Let my agent call your agent.
Yes, exactly.
but in an ad hoc kind of way, right? Because
Right.
in this scenario, I mean, it's there's no interface or whatever. The only interface is the actual website that or the SPA that we have for Emma. Right?
Yeah,
that was pretty cool.
That is good. Okay, so Lars, do you want to start showing some stuff? Do you want to? Is there anything you want to show? Do you want to go through some screens of what's interesting?
Yeah. The funny thing is we didn't discuss who's going to start sharing. So,
well, I can share your screen if that is what we want to share.
Let's do this. I'm going to do some ad hoc walkthrough, and in the meantime, Karl and David are going to think about what they want to share.
Excellent.
So let me switch. Let me switch the tab and
there you go.
Okay, so this is funny. I've been working with SLICC all day. So I've been working today on fixing first our GitHub skill, and then actually we can open this here. So I've been fixing the GitHub skill, and this is a new feature. This is what we call the freezer. So you can see your old sessions. Actually, you can have old sessions. We didn't used to have that. And then I've fixed ServiceNow and a bunch of others, including DA, and I fixed even more, including Concur, and that's a surprise skill. I'm going on vacation on Saturday. I still need to get my expense reports done, but in order to get my expense reports done, I need to get SLICC ready to do the expense reports. So that's where I've been at. And now, most recently, I had just fixed the final skill, which was a Microsoft Teams skill. And then as we got started, I said, yeah, why don't I just open StreamYard inside SLICC, or inside the same browser that SLICC is running inside. And that's what it has been doing. So I said, where are we? I basically said, figure out what's going on here and build something cool. And that's what it did. So it built the StreamYard skill. The StreamYard skill is coming with a little sprinkle. There's actually an unknown comment. So maybe if somebody would be writing, we actually, if you are watching this live and you are leaving a comment now, we can see if this is working, or if SLICC has just been hallucinating. And because I can
exactly. It's interesting because I mean, I put the link to our last SLICC show on there. So it's interesting that I guess there's
okay. Well, and we see this here, which is there's a notification for, I don't know. Oh, actually, yeah, it's the that's the scoop, which has actually been building the skills. So SLICC itself has been delegating this, and it built two things. It built the StreamYard skill, and it also built a live sprinkle, and it can tell you that, Ron, you're hosting it. There's a live comments ticker, and
yes, this is very meta. I like it.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. And let's see. So it's going to find out, and obviously this is the kind of stuff that
let's see how autonomous it is.
We didn't test before.
Exactly.
And oh yeah, actually one. So while we're waiting, I can show you a couple of things. One thing that I like very much, but that I also find a bit scary, is this little cost counter here.
Yeah.
Which is basically telling you how much how much you've been spending on this session so far. And we've come up with actually a bunch of tools, including this new monitor. And this new monitor gives you a cost estimate. It gives you a list of the scoops that you're running. And one of the things, I hope Karl is going to show it later, is that when you're running, you can run massive amounts of scoops at the same time. Yesterday I've been running so many scoops that I got hit by a secondary rate limit by GitHub, despite being authenticated. You can see the process tree. So these are all yeah, so SLICC is careful. These are all the processes that have been going on. Let me scroll a bit faster. Here we go. We can see the webhooks. Actually, there's an uncleaned webhook, workflows, what folders you've been mounting. And speaking of mounting, oopsie, what did I just do? Interesting.
It was just refreshing.
Yeah. Yep. So we have a new way of adding stuff to SLICC. So you can just drag a folder in here, and it's automatically getting mounted. There's a very nice new memory, and the memory, I should mention, is actually here. That's the auto reload behavior that I mentioned before, right? So if a reload is coming in, SLICC actually gets a message that it has been updated, and then it can tell you what to do with it. We have this cool memory, and the interesting thing is that the memory can get updated. On the one hand, SLICC itself can say, "Oh, I need to memorize this."
Yep.
The other thing is, when you click here and create a new session, this is when we actually generate new memories from your old session, and that's really cool, because you can use the findings from your last sessions and feed them into your memories, and the memories are getting restructured every time. The downside of this is that this is taking a bit longer, but you can also say, give me the new chat and do it fast, or you can erase, in which case the session will not be persisted anyway. And that's great if you're giving all of your embarrassing secrets to SLICC, then you can do this to have essentially a private chat. And let's see if this is working. Okay. No works. Did it leave the comment?
I don't think so. To ask it again, because I think it went off track once it got upgrade. Like,
so
we'll see.
So one thing I quickly want to share is that we also have a little tab viewer designed, stolen shamelessly from Safari, so you can see what other tabs are live. And I think you can even, yep, that works. You can even kill tabs. Oh, interesting. At least you can try to kill tabs. And yeah, so that's basically the high level overview of
So Sliccy today just runs in its own tab that launches when you launch your browser, or it launches when you, like last time we talked about like Slicky Start, and there's a handful of ways to start SLICC.
Yes.
Has that changed?
It's still essentially the same way. So the way I prefer to do it is use SLICC Start, which is a little macOS application that launches Chrome for you, and in Chrome it then opens slicky.ai and connects to it. The second way of doing it is through a Chrome extension, and that Chrome extension is essentially does the same thing. It opens a new tab, and it also has a sidebar that can show you that you can have next to any other site. But the way I work typically is I only open other browser tabs when SLICC is completely lost, and most of the time it's not lost, so I don't spend time in these other tabs. And then the next way of doing this is to use, and we've been showing this last time, but I haven't been working much on it, is the iOS app, which is essentially doing the same remote control. We have the Electron integration, which, and I think the most interesting new addition, and I'm also sure that Karl is going to talk about this, is Cherry. And Cherry allows you to integrate SLICC into an existing web application, and that opens and that opens a whole new avenue of possible integrations, right? Because if you have an application that you need to agentify and it's already a web application, you can
it's doing stuff, man.
It's really funny how it's doing this and how it's so we will see if it's coming in and if it's coming back.
There we go. There we go. It just popped.
There you go. It has it in the sprinkle too.
Okay. Perfect.
That's great.
So,
okay. Meta Thursday.
Let's see if people are replying. While we do this, SLICC is going to watch, and I will let SLICC.
There you go. Okay.
I will let SLICC handle the comment section from now on.
That sounds good.
Yeah. So
do we want Karl to show it looks like he's ready to.
If Karl is ready, then I'm ready.
Excellent.
I'm not sure I'm ready, but you mentioned the extension, so is that me? No.
No, that was. There you go.
You mentioned the extension, so I thought I have to show something. Because I mean, just to back up a little bit, I mean, part of this bigger refactoring of the last round that Lars mentioned was moving everything to slicky.ai for the actual UI and tab hosting. I don't know if it was the motivation, but it also has a nice side effect, which is that historically speaking, we had this extension and the standalone, right? And the extension was doing pretty much everything that the standalone was doing as a real extension, right? So that means it has to have an off-screen document to do its processing and all these things. And it worked. It was great that it worked, but at the same time, it made our life pretty complicated because we constantly had to keep those two worlds in sync, right? So you had the standalone, it was mostly web app in a tab, and you had the extension, which was mostly an off-screen thing with some elements being the same in the UI. So that caused a lot of tension. And the latest refactoring basically got rid of that. I mean, the extension now, and maybe we have to apologize a little bit to some of the users because for a week or two, there were quite some hiccups in that area. But now it starts to get more stable. I mean, I pointed that out last time. If you go move aem.now, you still get redirected to the actual extension. And you can just install it into your Chrome. And if you do, then what's new up to a point is that you now get this pinned SLICC tab. So this is the actual.
Hey Karl, can you increase the resolution of your
Yes.
a little bit so it's
yes.
not quite so small?
Yes.
Your screen is offensively big.
Yeah.
Okay.
Stop showing off.
Is that better, or should I just share the tab itself?
Yeah, just give it one more Command plus.
You could just share the tab if you want, or
try
not
that.
the tab, the window, rather than your whole screen.
Yeah, exactly. That was probably the problem, right? So I want to say screen. So
it is nice having the real estate to work, though. So
yes, exactly.
It's good.
Or maybe I can share the window, right?
Just share the window.
Yes, let's try that.
There you go. Beautiful.
Okay, so I can make it maybe a little bit smaller. So you can see here that basically now we have this tab, which is a pinned tab. That's a new extension, and that loads Sliccy AI. So that's basically the complete web app in this tab. And there is still a small part that the extension now is, but it really is mostly enabling the CDP access to the rest of the browser. That's the convenience part that may or may not lead to death if you're not careful, right? So it's because this runs obviously in your default profile, your default Chrome, if you install it like this, so it has access to all your things you have in Chrome, but it's also very convenient, right? But what we got back is, and that is where it gets more interesting, is that we now use the architecture that we already mentioned. Okay, I have to here. If I click here, it opens the side panel again, like it did previously in the extension. But what this actually is a follower, right? And that's this concept that you can connect a follower to a leader. So this is you can see it up here. If I go here, it just says disconnect from leader. So we don't want to do that. But in reality, it really just connects to this running tab. Right, so this is just a mask to this one. So if I say hi in here, you will see it also happens on that level. So it's the same screen between them, but the difference is it's kind of popped out to the sidebar, and I can now. So this is basically the new architecture of the extension, and very convenient for us, at least, to keep things hopefully more stable in the future. And from here, it actually makes a good transition, because what happens here in the sidebar is not only a follower, it's a follower embedded in an iframe. And as Lars mentioned, we have this thing that's called Cherry for that. So we have a little framework that you can embed into your web page, and you can mount a SLICC follower to a leader in your web page. So you embed it in there. I can show a quick example of that, I think, if I get the URL. So this is not really 100% publicly accessible. It is up to a point, but if I go to this page here, let me close the extension for a second here. This actually, if I click on here, it will start me a SLICC and connect to it. I hope. Let's wait for just 1 second. Yeah, there you go. And you can see it down says connecting to leader. It has the leader now, and now it basically has a running session to a SLICC leader, but it's completely embedded in this page from the labs that we have here. You can see I did some you can do some Stardust work here directly in the browser. But what you see here actually is a SLICC. Okay. Again, you could create a new one here if you wanted to for a different site. But all of this part, so inside that Chrome, is a SLICC that is just mounted as an iframe into this experience. And this obviously is a sprinkle. You might be able to see we also added support for theming, so you can actually change the nice layout that Lars did for SLICC. if you think you have better ideas, you can change it. Even better, SLICC knows how to change it itself. So if you want to ask SLICC, it can.
You can just use your words.
Yes. Yes, but these on the right-hand side is still SLICC here, so so you can see it here because you can still see sprinkles. So, for example, this was a Stardust thing. It has a sprinkle for showing you the individual steps it went through, and here it presents the results. All of this is part of the experience, and that comes to the final thing that I might maybe want to show.
Karl, I think it would be interesting to. So we are running SLICC now in a website.
Yes.
Famously, SLICC is an agent that is running inside the browser. Where's the browser?
You managed to interrupt the answer to your question with the question.
Yeah.
Congratulations. No, yes, this is a good question. So again, this is a follower. So technically, what you can embed in your website is any SLICC, right? So if you had it running on your local desktop, or even in the extension, you can get a tray join URL. I will not click here because then people can rickroll me. But with that tray join URL, you can connect the follower to any SLICC, right? And so you could theoretically embed a locally running SLICC here, but that'd be for a website kind of inconvenient, I guess. So that's the last point that I had, is we also started to experiment with hosting some leader version of SLICC in the cloud. So right now that it is the code is all in the GitHub repository, and we host it, but right now it's guarded by an Adobe login, I guess. So you need to have the right login. But if I go to slicky.cloud, not cloud, you get those cloud cones, and you can create basically a SLICC running in the cloud. And you can see here.
So if you want access to this, you have to go to adobe.com/careers, fill out a form, and then you will get access.
There you go.
Or ping your trusted Adobe representative, and ask them. Ask for access. But you can see this is actually and that it's an interesting concept too, because you can see this one is the actual cone, the actual SLICC that is used in that web page, right? So in a sense, that web page is borrowing a SLICC from me. It's not creating its own. It's borrowing one from me, and just uses it here. And I can prove that because I can basically go here and say I'll open it as another follower in a new tab, completely unrelated to the website, right? And this should give me a follower that's connecting. Yeah, see, and that's actually the same leader that it's connected to. You can almost see it. It looks almost similar, right? So this is an interesting concept, but we can do it on demand. So if I would do here, I would get a new cloud cone for me created. And part of the interesting bit about this aspect that it is the separate kind of thing is related to the followers, because as I mentioned before, every follower that connects is kind of part of this ensemble and can add extra capabilities, right? So if I want to give this website access to my Slack messages, which I do not recommend, I technically right now could, right? Because it's my leader. If I join a Slack follower, it actually gets access to my Slack, right? As long as I have it joined. And that's, I think, a very interesting.
So there's the could and the should.
Yes.
You could do that.
Yes.
But you shouldn't do that.
Yes, exactly. But that's the interesting bit, right? It's up to you.
Yeah.
And that's why it's important who owns, for example, the leader as well, right? I mean, it's my choice to do this and not somebody else's, right? Because right now the only thing that happens here is this one that it created by itself. Well, it's effectively just a server hosted version, right? So nothing happens. If I would connect to it, yes, I mean, but then it's my decision that for some reason I want to give access to something else.
So
that's it.
Speaking of recursive and meta and So are you guys using SLICC today to write SLICC? In other words, you're using the agents inside the scoops to create new PRs, to create new features, to ideate. You mentioned, 100% vibe coded today. Is it SLICC that's doing a lot of this, or are you in other tools to build SLICC?
So my workflow is mainly that I use SLICC for QE of SLICC, right, and for actual skill development. Right?
Yeah.
So SLICC is developing things that should run inside SLICC, and it's diagnosing when things are broken inside SLICC, and it's basically describing how it looks broken from inside, right, from inside the cone, and then it has the ability to open GitHub issues, and then I basically take the GitHub issue, give it to a coding agent, and say, fix this. And so it's right. And if you say that that the most important part of software development is getting the prompt right, then I would say, yep, SLICC is getting the prompts right by describing what it's seeing and how it's behaving. We do have the ability. So SLICC also now comes with more sophisticated development toolchain. So you can run TypeScript inside SLICC. You can run Biome, which is a linter. You can run ESBuild. We have a test framework inside SLICC. So it's when it comes to developing web applications inside SLICC, it's not just, hey, here's this little throwaway thingy, but you can actually do heavyweight web development, right? Build real edge delivery applications and other stuff. So yes, it's definitely possible. The question is, what are the things that you need to control? And one of the things that you need to control when developing SLICC is the browser at the operating system level, and that's where this breaks apart. But if you would press me, I would have ideas how to make it work.
All good. Yeah, I mean, I used SLICC to create the new community page,
right.
basically. So I was like, okay, I want a new version of the community page. Let's work on that.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
good stuff.
And I think again, I mean, for a lot of things, it's really starting to be more skill development than anything else, right? I mean, the day-to-day development, right? So we also added support for dynamic workflows, the Claude kind. So we kind of can do some heavy lifting with skills nowadays too.
Is this something you can show, Karl?
I guess I can.
Maybe
I can miss my cloud code.
So are you on a different window?
No.
Oh yeah. No, I'm still here.
I can see it.
Oh, hey, look at that.
But since again this is a normal SLICC, let's just ask if it can do a demo.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at least it knows about dynamic workflows. It's not 100% clear what they are. I don't think there's a formal definition that you can find someplace. But there are some primitives built in, and so we kind of support them. So if you had one built with Cloud Code, it actually should be runnable in SLICC out of the box. And what you can see here, I hope you can see it, but it's mostly that you now have a JavaScript style file, but it has access to things like parallel and agent. So you can basically script back some script together with agent interaction, like spanning out 10 agents for the same thing, and then joining them again together and have the result be evaluated by another agent here, for example. So it writes those by itself. You don't write them. Yeah, it describes it here, and you can even pass input to it. workflow finished. So we didn't see too much of it, but yeah. So basically, it writes this thing and tries to yeah. It's a way to structure your workflows with agent calls. And we start to use them in the skills here too for starters. And I don't know, David, are we using it for the single page migration yet, or you're
No.
on mute? No,
I'm not using them yet. No.
I think we have a version of this too, where we do the single page migration, right, David?
Of what you just showed, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I can maybe quickly share my screen here.
Sure.
Yep. Share the screen. Yeah, this one. So you might see a browser tab. Yeah.
Oh, hold on a second. I have to.
Okay, to accept it, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. There we go.
Okay, cool. Yep. So basically, to close the loop on everything that Lars and Karl exposed, if you remember at Summit, we had this single page migration flow, migration to AEM EDS, and this was made as a Chrome extension using SLICC, but the Chrome extension version of it. It was working all good, but then let's say the caveat that this approach is that the process can take a few minutes, and if the user is just closing the tab or closing the computer, everything stops there. So now, thanks to this cloud cone, we can think about a more asynchronous flow, where here we developed what we call now the liftoff experience. So you have this outer shell here. We even have like the Adobe login. Then we have this outer shell here with some UI elements. But in there, in the middle there, you can recognize there are still some UI glitches with the theming, but you can recognize SLICC. So the chat and the sprinkle over there. So this is SLICC embedded in our application, and the leader is actually a SLICC in the cloud, so a cloud cone. And this gives us the possibility to have a more opinionated or controlled flow, where the user can say, hey, I'm interested in, again, migrating a web page. So there are clicks, user just has to put the URL, but then it's just quote unquote just SLICC reusing the exact same skill that we made back then for the summit, and then it just happily executes, do everything like look at the original page, decompose it, look at the blogs and so on. And there we added some more opinionated sprinkles on how we want to show the progress while it's happening, and also the result. And there also, to close another loop, this is an example of this new way to preview or serve a page on the edge. So now we can have such URL, and if you open it, oh, by the way, this is the original page that so this good old page we had for the summit demo, and there you can see the example. So now let's say published.
You're not sharing, you have to share your window. I only still see the tab.
Yeah, I have it here. So yeah, I would have to share. Can I share multiple ones, or
you can remove that one share and you can go into the next share, and I'll throw it up on screen. Yeah, we've got a few minutes left, but this is a great way to end it.
Yes, I'm sharing now a window, so that should be fine.
Yep. Great.
Okay, let me just go back there. Sorry. Up. Okay. So so again, that's the original page that I wanted to migrate, and this is the result now with the, let's say, permanent URL publicly available that I can share to someone for someone else to have a look. But yeah, that's just to say that in a very short time now that we kind of paved the way and have all these pieces, bringing them together, we could do our own application on top of a SLICC for our special need here, for our special use case. So really interesting. It's getting more and more interesting.
Yeah. So okay, so that's available today. Like somebody could go and like Cloud Cones. It sounds like Cloud Cones are not available yet.
No, the code is committed, so nothing is hidden, right? So you could set it up like this. Right now, it is. You can go there, but you will need to have special permissions to create it. So
right.
It certainly is the idea that we will make something in the direction, especially what we just showed, available soon for people to try out.
Yeah. But if you want to try it, you can just reach out to us, and
I was just going to say
find a way to make it work.
Yeah. All right. No, it's super cool. Well, thank you guys for showing kind of full circle of where things have evolved. It's awesome. I look forward to trying some of the stuff that you showed. Yeah. So thanks so much for joining us. That's it for today. And we have Lars, you're going to be on vacation for 2 weeks.
I'm going on vacation twice. I'm going on vacation next week, so we are hopefully not having. Well, maybe you want to have an ad hoc frequency without me.
It's all good.
You're very welcome. And then I will be off for 1 more week in August to see a total eclipse of the sun, and that's a top priority for me. So
excellent.
So that's
excellent.
Where we might be able to squeeze something in, but I think the more likely case is that by the end of the summer we're going to see more frequencies.
Yeah, for sure. So have a great vacation. And I will keep posting in Discord when we have the next frequency. I know we're planning one in August for SEMrush. We've got some other things cooking. And then we're cooking actually a Developers Live, an online version of Developers Live that will be landing August 24th. So it's over 4 days, and we'll have content each day for different topics. We'll have some opportunities for people to get hands-on with the products. So stay tuned for that. And yeah, as always, thank you for joining. Have an awesome day.
You too. Thank you.
Cool.